Okay, so the item number 10.1 is the sale of city property.
We don't have to vote to come back into session.
We did that already.
Okay, move to approve the city of Shelton sale. Move to approve the city of Shelton sale of approximately 4,858 square feet at Assessor Card Map Lot 118-21 at 0 Myrtle Street for the sum of $6,550, and that the mayor and corporation council be authorized to sign any and all paperwork necessary to consummate the sale.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10.2 is the purchase of the 25-acre parcel off of Old Mill Road.
Move to approve the purchase of the Wells property off of Old Mill Road for the purchase price of $1,440,000 with funds to come from the American Rescue Plan and with all final terms and conditions to be handled by the mayor and corporation council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded by Anglais. We've talked about this quite a bit now for almost a year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, you just have one more item remaining, and that is the presentation of the audit by Claremont Associates. And then the floor is yours.
Arrivederci.
I can just.
Go ahead, Dave.
You all set? I'm all right to speak to the front.
So, I mean, in the previous years, we've gone through this in a little more detail, so tonight.
You know yourself, yeah.
Excuse me?
ID yourself.
Oh, yeah. Dave Capelli from Claremont Associates, the auditor for the city. In the past, I think last year went into a little bit of the detail. So this year, I'll probably just go into a summary, and if you have any questions as I move forward, we'll just go around and I'll answer those questions as they come. Right now, if we could just start on page 10, exhibit F. And we'll go through the general fund budget actual report. Financial statements.
The financial report, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the annual financial report.
Page 10.
Page 10.
Okay.
So overall, you have a favorable year financially. So the revenues over your expenditures on a budgetary basis was 1.4 million. So on an operating basis, you increased your general fund surplus by 1.4 million. You appropriated an additional 1.6 at the beginning of the year, and then you increased that. It ended up that you didn't need that at the end of the year. So, and then you gave back to the taxpayers 4.7 million during the subsequent year's budget. So that leaves you with $5.5 million in your general fund surplus to be ready to appropriate. Okay, and a little bit of history on your general fund is that you did have a healthy fund balance over the years. You spent it down to reduce the debt, and so you're almost down to zero. And now you're on the you're still building back that general fund. And so this is just the amount that's ready to appropriate. So from that, you also have 4.7 that you put in the current year's budget. So altogether, you have about $10 million in your general fund budget. So you're back up to where you originally were years ago before your capital spending.
Was it 12 or 10? We were at 12. We were at 12 before. Yeah, but we're at 10 now.
Yeah. So you're Yeah, so, on page 7, exhibit C. And so, halfway down the page, you'll see fund balance, and on the first column, you'll see general fund. Okay,
Look, wait a minute. Halfway down.
page 7.
Yeah,
Yeah, and just your breakdown of your fund balance, so on your first column on the bottom, it says your fund balance is $10,717,000. Okay? And then the breakdown of that is the 5.5, which we just discussed, which is unassigned. Okay? And then you have 4.7 that you committed to the subsequent year's budget to reduce taxes. Okay?
okay, well, we were just, the question was, we had taken it down from another number, we thought it was about 12 that we had taken it down from several years ago.
Yeah,
You
so
agree with that?
years past, you're about.
About 12, and now we're back to 10 again.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah, you've spent around $10 million in a capital, expenses, and basically to, save on bonding costs, I believe. So, at one point, you're close to zero or equal to zero on your fund balance. And now you're back up to a healthy, $10 million. Okay. And we'll just stay on this page here as well, unless you have any questions.
7 or 10? Or
7. Yeah. Did you have any questions on the budget to actual?
Very poor.
Budget actual looks okay? Okay. So that's your general operations is in the general fund. Your capital projects, is the second column. And this year on page 7 and 8, yep. Yeah, so this year you bonded the $5 million. You paid off, the general fund, all it was due. In addition, you also were able to go back and collect, several grants, from your, school construction program. So that's clearing up as a financial basis, so it's becoming more healthier. And as you can see too, your fund balance is almost zero and your capital projects. Obviously, over the years, that'll, reduce as you, do more capital expenditures, and as you bond, that'll come back to zero. But that's still running healthy.
Do you know how much more is owed to us by the state? Can you give us an estimate for the school?
No, I don't have that number. Okay. Final column is the other government funds. And so basically what we always want to see is here is a zero fund balance. I will tell you though, because of the changes of GASB, what we used to record outside of governmentals, we now record in the governmental funds. Two areas that's increasing that is the library fund, which we never presented in this report. So the library fund is about 2.8 million and is now included in other governmental funds. So that increases that fund balance larger than you probably have ever seen in the past, but it basically is funds that are just committed or restricted for a specific purpose. Okay.
Yeah, cultural recreation, I don't know, you said library, didn't you?
Yeah, cultural and recreation is where the money is, and that's the library fund, yeah. So that's restricted funds that the library has collected, and it's theirs to spend. There's, yeah, we've recognized
That's where the
2.8.
3.7 is?
I believe it's the 2.7, yeah.
I see 3, okay, you're not seeing it correctly, 3 points?
2.7.
2.7. You showed it. On the wrong page, wasn't it?
Page 7.
Okay, all right, 2.7, yeah. Got it, thank you.
And then the other funds in there, just so you realize, because it is a large number, 4.2 outside the general fund. We also have certain student activities, athletic fund, that it has a couple $100,000 in it as well. And again, that's restricted to be used for that purpose. So you do see a little bit of funds outside the general fund. It's more related to, how we report that, because we've changed the way that's reported. So there's no significant changes to the city, it's just how we're presenting it.
On page, where it says long-term liability,
Yep.
21,484,840, right? 7 again,
Yeah, no, so long-term liabilities.
yeah. So we normally pay down our liability pretty quickly. What number is that it's so high? Page 7, bottom.
Yeah, so that relates to, page number, 31. Somehow I knew you were gonna ask about that. Okay, great. So on the bottom of page, 31 shows the breakdown of long-term long-term liabilities. Okay, and so the first, under the first set of numbers that are added together, on the first column is 17,451,000. So those are your outstanding bonds that you owe. Okay, so that's what you're more used to seeing. And like I said, again, this year, your reductions were over your additions, reducing your debt down to 16.5 million. That's always been significant low for the city, and it continues to be significantly low for a city your size. Just so you know, underneath that, one of your largest ones that you can see is the net pension obligation. So that's not managed by the city, that's managed by the state of Connecticut under the CMERS program. Okay,
We have no control
you have no control over it, no, but at the state level, there is a liability that's settled, you know, that's related to your employees that are in the Connecticut Municipal Retirement Fund. Okay, so your police officers are under the state retirement fund.
We're making our payments too, as we have to.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you're required to make the required payments every year. That payment has increased significantly over the last 10 to 15 years to cover those debts, but it's just that's something that the state manages, and you're required to pay whatever they ask. And you know,
And if the state is insolvent with those, what happens to us? Are we responsible for the funding?
yes, yeah, most likely.
So they go in the hole, we have to pay.
Yeah, I mean, the CMERS has the rates have been steadily increasing over the last 15 years. And so there's, you know,
And this is the same for all cities and towns?
it's the same for all cities and towns. Yeah, yeah, whoever's involved in that program. So you can either have a pension on your own, or you can join the state pension for your municipalities. And, yeah, like I said, that's managed by the state.
Are some cities looking to get out of the state pensions and such because of the uncertainty in Connecticut, or not really?
Yeah, none of my clients are looking to get out. I mean, the good portion, the nice portion about the CMERS is that so if you were running your own pension, you would have the ability to underpay into that. You pay whatever you can, you know. There is an actual required contribution, so you have an actuary professional telling you it should be provided, but there's no state statute that makes you do that unless you bond. You know, then the state moves in and requires the art to be paid. But as long as you're able to pay those bills. So generally what happens, and when finance banks in particular, they're very concerned on your payment targets of your pension if you maintain your own. So if you normally see that you are in a state pension, then they feel more comfortable to lend money to you.
Okay.
So it probably puts you in a better financial position. On the other side, you lose control of the funding. So,
Are we talking about MERS?
yes,
And so this only covers the police department.
it only covers the police department, right?
Is that But the other side to that is that you're able to hire police officers with any cases because of having that pension.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so one of the benefits of Steamers is mobility, which means they can come from another town in the city. If they're in it, they can carry it over to here.
So what I'm going to suggest is that, you know, that we consider is that we need school bus drivers completely murdered.
Go there.
Yeah, so, the police department does have a pension plan, and obviously you realize that, otherwise your only retirement, that the other, with the rest of the city outside of your, volunteer fire is the contribution plan, right? And the teachers also follow state.
That's not a bad investment. I mean, if you think about it, it has its cost. And nobody is doing that is going into it because you have to pay currently. Yeah. It still gives us an advantage.
Yep.
Many advantages, but it falls by people.
Yeah, I would also add that if you had your own pension, there would be a deficit number there anyhow. So that's basically, if you close that pension account today, that's what you would have. You know, even the best funded plans in the state of Connecticut are not 100% funded unless they're closed. So, you know, every day there's more long-term, it is a long-term debt, which means, you know, it's due over the next 27 years, or, you know, or the life of the pension. So this isn't money that's all due today. But comparatively, the city of Shelton has significant low debt compared to any, and one of the two reasons is the aggressive payments of bonds, your 5-year bonds that you've paid off significantly. And number two is you've always favored a contribution plan over a benefit plan. So if you compare this to any other city, you're going to see some pretty large numbers in that area, which you won't see in Shelton. Okay.
If I can ask you to repeat something you said, looking at the, at page 32, 14 million, 444, 465. You had said that in relationship to other cities, what is our debt, or is it, are we in good shape? Would you consider it excellent? What?
Yeah, that's what I was saying basically, is that you continue to use your 5-year bonds, pay aggressively down, only borrow when you needed to. And you've also had an aggressive self-funding capital project plan. And I think with all those, I think that's has left a very low bond debt. So, I didn't come with comparative numbers, but I would say that the average, if I were to see another town with $16 million in debt, then we're probably talking 7.5-year population.
Say that again louder, I couldn't hear.
No, that's okay. If I was, so I don't have the comparative numbers with me tonight, but if you were to compare this to another town with $16 million, I think you'd probably find that the population is below half your population.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another town that's your size. Yeah, I mean, Monday I just presented financial statements to the city a little bit larger than you. They have 308 million.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Wow. Okay.
I could say the big cities are probably even more than that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the big cities also have people like their own pension. Yeah, so we're talking, yeah, somewhere between that.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, like I said, too, on page 33, is what is going on with your debt, is that, you can see that you have promissory notes and you have, debt service. So instead of using 10 and 15-year notes, you're using 5-year notes. And so you know, within the next 5 years, you pay off all your debt. So that's an aggressive payment plan, I would say. Your only long one would be the Clean Water Fund, which is funded by the state of Connecticut. That's on page 34.
That was for the sewer department.
Yeah, that was mandated by the state of Connecticut to correct it, and they have a clean water program that is paid over 20 years now. Did I miss, is there anything else that in the financial statements that you're curious about?
I'm gonna make an observation. This being an election year, the other party in town has made statements like alluding to the fact that you have been our auditor for a number of years, and they felt that we should change the auditor. And if they made this comment, and I'd like to just clarify this. They made the comment that if we were to get a new auditor, we would find out where we really are at in the city. Now, this audit that you've given us is done in accordance with general accounting principles. Isn't that certified to?
Yes.
And unless you are, if you're not an accountant because you're not used to reading this, you'll never know what's in here. You'll never know how to read it or how to interpret it. But would you say that other people in the know, people who are financial people, would know how to read this and get the accurate information on the status of the city from this audit, regardless of whether you do it or whoever does it? It's got to be done a certain way in accordance with accepted general principles, accounting principles, right? So we do follow the bidding process. You do have to go out to bid, and we do select on the basis of, as we do it with other bids, the lowest competent provider. And you have beat all others in all the years that I've been sitting up here. And you provided a document that has to go to the state and other people for their review. So I don't understand their statement, but I just wanted to expose it because it's nothing but political garbage.
Yeah, so it's reviewed by the Office of Policy and Management, the financial statements. In addition, I have a peer reviewed. So basically I sent my work papers and the financial statement to a third independent auditor to review my work papers. And they'll either send me a suggestion, we'll accept it, or ask me to change it. So I've had no changes on those. And then also within our firm, we change auditors every 3 years. So there's always new people auditing this. You may be recognizing my face, but the people who are developing this are not only me. There's a firm with several CPAs behind here developing this. And we rotate those positions because we like to see different people involved in different areas, just to make sure that we're catching everything that we could possibly catch.
Yeah, I think I'm not saying this to build your.
No, it's okay. People ask this quite a bit. So, but our profession is very strict.
Because you're part of our operation all year long, around the clock. We have issues, and we call you and we ask you, and you work through our finance director to advise us as to various ethical ways of handling things. And you know, you've got enough experience with our municipality that you know the history behind Board of Education spending, the history behind our spending, and you know, and the way we do things. And I'm sure that that gives you when you come in to do the audit, that gives you one up on everybody else, that you're able to look for issues, outstanding issues in places that you know where to look.
Yes, I agree with you.
That's not a statement that you're rehired, but it's just a statement of fact. And why we've had this relationship with you for as long as we've had it, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. But, yeah, no, I think you're correct with that too, is that, new audit, clients it takes a little while to get into, especially a city this size, to know the ins and outs. So even when I changed the person who is head of the audit every 3 years, but I do give them feedback on saying, well, look at this, look at that, look at this. And because some things I can pick up pretty quickly because I know the history behind that account. No, that is helpful. Sure.
I'd like to say, oh, go ahead.
I just, with inflation being what it is, do you take any of that into account on when we're looking at long-term planning?
Yeah, so so how that is actually beneficial, changing the municipals a little bit is actually in the investment earnings. So, you know, you're required by state statutes to only invest in, basically interest-bearing or bank accounts. And so you're gonna see that go up significantly this year, which is nice because you're seeing even the STIP account go over 3%, which we haven't seen in 10 years. So that's great. As far as the municipal side of bonds, there's so many forces besides inflation that it's hard to predict from year to year. And so, what you have done and what, I always suggest municipals do is to make a sound capital project plan, long-term capital and how you're going to purchase. And, playing the municipal market is difficult, but you do have, I believe it's Phoenix advisors who will also assist you in that as time comes. But, yeah, heavy prediction. I don't think it's really affecting the, your interest rates yet on that side, the inflation. But like I said, it has provided the cities with a new resource of funds that they haven't seen in 10 years, which is interest rates. Yeah.
Okay, can we wrap it up?
Yeah.
Well, if I could say so, one little comment. I know we have Lynn here, Paul and Ray, and I know you work with the Board of Education also on this. And I want to say that this doesn't get done without their cooperation and keeping the books all year. So our kudos to everybody who worked on this. And thank you for doing such a good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate you coming up on behalf. Is there any other business coming for the board? Hearing none, motion to adjourn in order.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? The meeting adjourned at 7:05 p.m.
Oh, yeah. Let's take the late 30.
Oh, she likes the
She likes the
yeah.
luxury.
Just love your company.
It's like being in a private club, everybody does. The inlaid paneling, big leather chairs.